Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. This is the podcast where I have digital discussions from the worlds of social media, pop culture, sports. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis, and on Twitter it goes PD Beats. My guest does a lot of things. A lot of people know him from the MLB because he is a pitcher with the Minnesota Twins, but he's also a podcaster. He is a musician. He is a video game streamer. He does so many things. Trevor May is with us. Trevor, welcome to Popternative.
Thanks, man. I'm glad to be here.
Like I said, doing a lot of things. Talk about kind of, I don't know if anything takes priority, but what have you been up to lately?
First of all, thank you for that intro. I've actually literally never been called a musician before, so that was actually really cool. Usually people call me a DJ. Yeah, what I've lately just really working hard on the Trevor May podcast is my aptly named new project happening recently, and streaming quite a bit. Kind of with I kind of fell in love with Fortnite, and as you know, being head deep in pop culture, you know that Fortnite is kind of taking over at the moment. So that's been really interesting. I've met a few new people, and I even was in a group with Ninja for about 20 minutes the other night, and that was crazy because I came into the clubhouse the next morning and like 8 guys saw me on stream. It's so funny.
It's unbelievable. Fortnite specifically has hit it off also with like pro athletes. I have a lot of hockey players on the show, and I remember the Pittsburgh Penguins tweeted out a video. It said their flight was delayed, and Sidney Crosby and a bunch of guys were just playing Fortnite. I mean, it's hit it off. I find specifically with pro athletes, there's a big relationship there between Fortnite and athletes.
Yeah, we're seeing. Well, I mean, I think the crossover is the kind of Twitch streaming. Video games crossover has been happening slowly.
Yep.
A little bit. There's been guys kind of going onto the Twitch platform. Another guy, Kyle Long of the Chicago Bears, is a pretty constant streamer. Deadmau5 has been streaming for a really long time, and he streams his self-producing music in his big studio, which is really cool, which is the first thing I ever saw him do. And then it's kind of a couple guys have been doing it like that, but now we've seen a game that has been insanely popular on both console and PC, which is unprecedented. Usually it's one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And the crossover it's still fun to play on both. And usually with especially first person shooters, the speed at which the game is played, it comes to effect with the controller. But for some reason, Fortnite has been, it's slow. It can be slowed down enough or sped up enough to be fun on both. And so you see, sports athletes have been playing console games for a long time. Call of Duty's been the one for a long time. Halo was 10 years ago. And it's been, they play, the sports games as well, FIFA. But now that Fortnite has this huge presence on Twitch, and crossover platform, people can play with the big guys who are playing the games for a living can then play with people who are famous for other things. For example, the other night, and you said I'm a musician or I produce music. Some of my biggest, favorite guys of all time is Diplo and RL Grime. We're playing with RL Grime. I liked him back when he was called Clockwork. They were playing with Ninja the other day, just out of the blue, just watching them, and it was super cool to see. Just he's being hit up by everyone, and just to play because they enjoy doing it in their off time, and the crossover of the worlds is happening. It's crazy, but it's super exciting as an athlete and a nerd to see that it's cool now.
So I want to know, we'll get more into it, but I want to know when you kind of decided that you wanted to be a baseball player. When did that come to be? Like, I mean, obviously, did you fall in love with the game when you were really young? Like, when did you kind of decide you wanted to be a pitcher?
Yeah, I fell in love with the game when I was really young. My dad was his first love was basketball, and he was a really good basketball player, played in 4 years in college, and then just kind of like, in the 70s, and his knees went and he just stopped playing. But so he was always my coach growing up, but didn't coach me in baseball. So because he didn't really play baseball through high school. So what it was basically for about until I was about 15, it was my dad would ask me what's your favorite sport, and it'd be whatever season it was at that time. So I actually played basketball all the way through high school as well, but I was a post. I was 6'5", and that's like barely big enough to be a point guard in the NBA. So if I wanted to move beyond high school and anything else, and I think I could have went and played in junior college and basketball probably, but it was going to be baseball because 6'5" translates into mid to high 90s maybe. And your projectability as a pitcher kind of goes way up, and so it became a real dream when I was like in junior and high school. But when I was 12 years old, we kind of decided that I was going to pursue it as long as I was still checking out those boxes to go to the next level, be good enough to go to the next level. So, my parents let me play on travel teams. And when I was 15 or 16, I joined a team. I'm from 2 hours south of Seattle. Yep. But I joined a Seattle travel team that goes all over the country and plays. I never practiced with them. I just showed up on the weekends and played in tournaments with them. From there, like we played against some other Washington teams that would then, when we didn't have tournaments, they'd pick me up and I go play for them on the tournament. So like it kind of turned out to where I had a support from a bunch of I was becoming known in the Northwest as one of the better high school baseball players. And the kind of the rankings list picked me up. It all happened in like a year. And then I just said, I want to go to college. I signed University of Washington. All this stuff happened so quickly. And like within 2 months, we realized that the draft was a real thing. And that's when I had some hard decisions to make. And, I decided to go into the draft and not go to college. And I don't regret it.
For sure. You're like actually you're my second baseball guest, player to be on the show, but I didn't ask my first one this. I have a lot of like hockey players, and I always ask them this question, but I want to know specifically for baseball. There's a lot of people online and, armchair GMs, whatever you call it, a lot of people that think they know everything, and they, have kind of these opinions on things, and they just assume. There's a lot of assumptions. What do you think are some of the misconceptions about professional baseball players, Trevor? So what I mean by that, or what are some things that people assume about guys like yourself that is completely the opposite of it? Like, for example, I've had some serious questions, serious answers and not so serious answers for the hockey players. So the not so serious answers would be like, misconception is our hair. People think we spend so much time on our hair, which is sometimes true, but not always true. Or like it's all hockey all the time. Like we don't care about school. We don't care about relationships with anyone else. We just care about hockey. Is there anything about baseball that you can kind of throw in there about professional baseballs?
Well, that second one is very similar. I think that's every pro athlete, though. Mm-hmm. You say, hey, going out to dinner, going to play Fortnite. Like this is one that I'm getting, I'm streaming here later. Right. And I don't stream I'm hurt right now, so I'm not with the team, but I don't stream during the games very, very clearly. Like, I think that's a pretty good line to draw. I like to watch the games anyways and kind of get fired up. So, but like, I'll be like, I'm streaming and I'll be after the game. They're like, shouldn't you be at the game? You're like, no. It's spring training. Like it'd be 6 p.m. and they'll be like, hey, shouldn't you be throwing a bullpen? And you're like, dude, I went to the field at 7 this morning and I was there till 3. I got my 8 hours of constant baseball done today. I don't live at the field, right? Yeah. So that's something that honestly, it's something I fought really hard, is to not be known only as a baseball player, because our careers end in our if we're lucky, in our late 30s, right? So that's a lot of life to live after, and being known for something is good, but I'm a guy who's like, as you said before, I want to be known for more stuff than you can count on your fingers.
Musician,
exactly,
streamer,
exactly, and I want to dabble and pursue a lot of different things. So it's very important to me that I'm people understand that we're so much more. And some guys want to be baseball, and baseball is 100% all the time, and that's great for them. And it's whatever makes you happy. Just don't ever assume that that's what's happening. No, and more on a serious note, I think a baseball misconception, as opposed to like the NBA and NFL and even hockey, is that our injuries aren't as serious or as painful because we're not a contact sport, right? So there's a lot of like, what did not you didn't even do anything, or like, what, your arm hurts, like tough it up and go. But you know, as opposed to it's such a hand-eye coordination, like small adjustments type game. Like if your back's tight in one area, it's all based on kinetic chain and getting the maximum out of your body, like as a pitcher when you're throwing.
Yep.
And so if one of the joints hurts along that kinetic chain, it's going to throw everything else out of whack, and you're going to hurt something else. So it's very important so you see guys kind of preemptively say, hey, I'm going to take a week off because I know this is going to, I just continue. We play 162 games in 180-ish days. That's insane. So it's very important that we make those decisions, maybe preemptively, avoid getting seriously injured, because we need to be healthy for as much time as possible, and that sometimes is perceived as kind of like softness or weakness. And you know, I've even heard it from like veterans who played a long time ago, that tone that like things are old school and new school is like softer somehow. But the game's a lot different because of a lot of different reasons, but it's just simply not the case. It's extremely hard to go play in a 162 game season, because there are days where you're like, I can't get out of bed, the same way that, you know, NFL guys have been running into each other all year, you know, and maybe it's not head injuries as much, and maybe not as serious, you know, long term, but all pro athletes have their struggles with injury and working through it, and it's not just a decision we make.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's clear based on your social media and basically based on a lot of your other ventures, a lot like the other things you do, like the music and the streaming, that you have kind of embraced the digital media landscape as a professional athlete. My question to you is, do you think that there is an overall consensus with pro athletes that social media is an important aspect to their jobs as pro athletes, and they kind of have to, you know, engage somehow? Or do you think there's still a lot of people that aren't jumping on the bandwagon and they don't really see a use for it?
I think baseball's slow, really slow. I don't think we have near the social media presence that the other sports have, even hockey. And you know, baseball viewership and like market size is just a lot bigger than hockey. So there's a lot of opportunity there, that it might just be baseball players in general, or it might just be just hesitance, like don't really know why, or they just don't want to get in trouble with it, which is actually really smart. If they feel like they might that they're too competitive, or they get too angry too quickly, frustrated, and that's easy to engage people you shouldn't be engaging. And we're living in a time now where it's rampant, right?
Yeah.
Anonymity on the internet can cause a lot of problems. But again, it just comes down to how you use it. And I've embraced it because I understand that this is something we're still kind of in the infancy of the advent of just digital media as a branding tool and as a content tool, and it's not going anywhere. We're just always going to be moving, no matter how much we like it or not. That's where we're moving. So, and I think that it's extremely valuable from a business standpoint, but also just because I like engaging people, and I like learning, and I like finding like-minded people that I wouldn't have found with any other way, you know, and just it's harder to sift through stuff that's false and things, but you know, with a little due diligence, it's an extremely valuable tool, and I'm a huge proponent of it.
Do you enjoy the pop culture and sports kind of relationship and crossover over the years, especially in baseball, with, you know, teams reenacting scenes from The Sandlot? Is that something that you kind of enjoy? Do you think it's overdone? Do you think people should do it more? I mean, Fortnite is kind of that example too, of a lot of, you know, quote unquote celebrities or athletes getting involved, and, you know, they're tweeting stuff in regards to Fortnite and tweeting out to other celebrities and actors. There's like a crossover about that. What do you kind of think about that?
I think it's awesome. And as a big believer in the the platform of Twitch. I think it's extremely, valuable. Like there was a big thing with Logan Paul switching over to Twitch, and the beauty about Twitch is it's all live. There's no really virality to it. That's not how it works. It works. It's like a constant upkeep of entertainment live, and it's not the same as being a YouTuber. But he brought a lot of people who didn't spend all their time on YouTube, didn't give Twitch a chance at all. So there's millions with the success of Ninja. There's millions of people on there streaming and trying to make a go at it. And it's the same thing when I became a DJ in 2011 or 10. Everyone wanted to be a DJ, a musician, right? Because that's when Avicii and Skrillex got really popular, and now we've seen where the electronic music scene and how big these concerts have gotten since, right? So I really like it. I think that it creates a very competitive marketplace for Twitch, but overall, just the concept of people in different walks of celebrity or walks of media collaborating, and magic's going to happen that may not have happened beforehand, and people who didn't have much in common are having things in common, and you never know, like someone might have a talent you don't, you end up working on something that you weren't planning on working on before. So, and that's awesome.
No, absolutely. Well, Trevor, I appreciate you coming on the show. This is, I really enjoyed this chat. It's, like I said, you're an inspiration. You do so many things, outside of baseball, which is awesome. So thank you so much for chatting me this afternoon, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and now I want you kind of to plug away. Like, where can people check out your streams? Like, where can they check out your music? Where can they follow you? Anything you want to plug? The field is yours, let's say.
Oh man. All right. Well, on YouTube, I am at youtube.com/I am Trevor May. I have some like Fortnite highlight videos on there, some of which I made myself, which are pretty, I guess you could add video editor into the list. They're very simple, but they're pretty funny. It shows my sense of humor. Twitch.tv, /I am Trevor May as well. Is my Twitch stream. Right now I'm streaming at least 5 days a week, but as soon as hopefully I get on the field, and that time will be limited, I'll be more of a part-time streamer, but I'll still be on there. We do stuff where I go on, we just talk about baseball and we sit in IRL, and that's pretty fun. So we mix it up, but mostly it's Fortnite right now. And my theme lately has been mailing it. If you don't know what that means, you should come check it out. And on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, I'm Trev May 65. And those are the best ways to get a hold of me. As you know, my DMs are open on Twitter as well. So like, I just like anyone who's got ideas for things, and this is kind of how I get into stuff. People kind of approach me with things, and I might reply and I might not, but the opportunity is there. So
well, I'm glad I'm glad you know that your Twitter DMs are open, because there are a lot of people that I message that don't realize that they're like, anyone could just message them.
I got 20,000 tweets under my belt now. I've gone through the old settings on Twitter quite a few times to make sure everything's cool. My phone number isn't on there or something. So yeah, that's me right there.
Perfect. Well, hopefully we get to see you back on the field as soon as possible, man.
Thanks, man.
For sure. Well, this has been Popturnative, youtube.com/Popturnative for the video versions of the podcast. Audio only, Spotify, iTunes, Libsyn, anywhere, Podbean, we're everywhere. So check that out, popturnative.com for more content and stuff about the podcast. Till next time, this is Trevor May and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popturnative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popturnative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popturnative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.